Welcome back to BYoungMinistry.com, to another blog and to another podcast. Today we continue our study in the Gospel according to Mark. We're in chapter 4, verses 21 through 25, which reads, "Then Jesus said to them, 'Do you hide a lamp under a bowl or under a bed? No, you put the lamp on a lampstand. Everything that is hidden will be made clear, and every secret thing will be made known. Let those with ears use them and listen. Think carefully about what you hear. The way you give to others is the way God will give to you, and God will give you even more. Those who have understanding will be given more, but those who do not have understanding, even what they have, will be taken away from them.'" That's Mark chapter 4, verses 21 through 25. Today we return to Mark 4, where the Lord Jesus has taught the crowds using parables. In fact, on this day, he used a particular parable which the disciples later asked for an explanation. And so, the Lord Jesus has just given his explanation of the parable of the sower. And now, he gives more teaching regarding how we must hear in order to be effective in his call on our lives to be his messengers. In verses 21 through 23 of today's passage, we read, "Then Jesus said to them, 'Do you hide a lamp under a bowl or under a bed? No, you put the lamp on a lampstand. Everything that is hidden will be made clear, and every secret thing will be made known. Let those with ears use them and listen.'" Christianity is unique among religions, for it alone offers a personal relationship with the Creator. Of course, Christianity is not a religion because we could never be able to earn God's favor. This is why the Lord Jesus came and died on the cross. In today's passage, the Lord Jesus taught about our ability to perceive, coming as the result of listening. He began this teaching with an invitation to listen in Mark chapter 4 and verse 3. Twice he has challenged anyone with ears to hear to listen. The reason the Lord Jesus taught using parables was to enable those who are eager to learn from him to hear and understand. But when his teaching is rejected, we can expect a measure of hardening of our hearts to the truth. The Lord Jesus made it clear that understanding the parable of the soils was the key to understanding today's parable. The humility that ushered us into God's family is the characteristic that forges his kingdom in our souls. The parable of the sower accentuates hearing his word deeply and, as a result, enjoying the results of his word. The parable of the lamp in today's passage accentuates what is and what isn't seen. Through this teaching, the Lord Jesus is saying, "See what you listen to." This means if we are to see deeply with our hearts, we must listen deeply. And then, the goal beyond that is that others would come to know him through our yielded lives. Charles Haddon Spurgeon once said, "The Bible is not the light of the world. It is the light of the church. But the world does not read the Bible. The world reads Christians. You are the light of the world." In biblical days, the lamp was a shallow dish made out of clay, just about 3 or 4 inches in diameter. This dish had a shallow little lip on one side so that a wick could be laid in it with a few ounces of oil. And the lampstand was a little shelf that protruded out of the wall. The brightly lit lamp was not only set on the lampstand, it shined brightly into the darkness. I find it reassuring that the Lord Jesus used the clay pot, our lamp, to illustrate us, his followers. We are but clay pots and as a result, we are privileged to be the instruments of God. In those days, the jars of clay were common, inexpensive, and frail. And despite our weakness, God has chosen to use clay pots with the dissemination of His treasure. The greatness of His treasure is in sharp contrast to the frailness of our clay pots. The stark contrast shows that the power is certainly from God, and we are merely instruments of His great power. Humility thrives with such understanding, and the message shines brightest out of such a posture. The higher the lit lamp was placed in the house, the more light it dispersed. So the idea here is that the gospel was never intended to be kept hidden, but to be given out to everyone. Our responsibility is to live in and out of the light of the gospel, as the Lord leads our yielded lives on a given day. As we live our lives organically, His power is shown forth through our yielded lives. In verses 24 and 25 of today's passage, we read, "Think carefully about what you hear. The way you give to others is the way God will give to you, but God will give you even more. Those who have understanding will be given more, but those who do not have understanding, even what they have, will be taken away from them." Our capacity for insight into the truths of God expands as we listen and see more deeply with our hearts. It is not that we see and hear. It is that our hearts and our minds are so focused on the words of the Lord Jesus that His message pushes out the shallow and gives way to His depth. This is a relationship between the effort we put in and the understanding we receive from God. The amount of careful listening we put in equals the amount of understanding we get. The more reading, seeking, discerning, the more understanding we receive. And likewise, the less of these things we do, the less understanding we receive. And in the end, it is the Lord Jesus who gives us what we really need, His perspective. The more we live in and out of His truth, the less of ourselves we will see. The essence of true spiritual insight and the resulting usefulness is that of being humble enough to seek and to listen. The power of the gospel is not the product of human genius. It is that we, as mere clay pots, are weak enough to realize our utter need for God. My friends, I trust this blog and this podcast are helpful to you in your walk with the Lord. If I can be of further assistance to you, shoot me an email at BYoungMinistry@gmail.com. Hey, have a great day.